Hey everyone, how's it going? Here we are at episode 13 of Ask Wholesale, and here we are with Manny The Brainiac Investor and the always knowledgeable Marco Romero. And
I pretend anyway.
He pretends to be knowledgeable anyway. And we're going to be talking about a few things today. What's the most difficult seller you had to build rapport with? That's one of the questions, and how to handle that situation.
And also, what is the best way to communicate with people and how to try to get a deal done?
And then a lot of people were asking whether there's situations where you would never go to a property physically. So definitely check out this episode.
It's a great episode, a lot of insights. We'll catch you guys right now.
Hey, we are on lucky number 13.
Lucky number 13.
Of the Ask Wholesale show.
That's actually my second favorite number.
Second? What's your first favorite?
62. My football number, by the way.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, I'm glad that we are on the second favorite number of Juan here today. So the Ask Wholesale show is a show where we answer your questions in regards to wholesaling, but real estate in general. And we have famed experts with us, but also people that are actually in the nitty-gritty of the business and markets all over the United States, answering your questions. And today we have Manuel Cerrillo with us today, so welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me, Marco.
Oh, of course. Of course. I'm excited to hear some of your answers. So tell the people watching a little bit about yourself and how you got into the business, what you're working on today, and those type of things.
Well, my name is Manny The Brainiac Investor. When I first got started, obviously I was going for the veterinary field, but that didn't work out. You know, I kind of stopped pursuing that. Jumped into real estate. It was a perfect timing, and I've been building on my rental portfolio. I've done a lot of owner finance notes, done a lot of fix and flips, wholesales. I mean, creative deals, subject tos, all the good stuff. I mean, at this point, just living on the good life where, with just 3-4 years worth of work, now I'm just consulting, mentoring people, partnering with people, doing JV deals. I mean, you name it. I'm just here to help people and build wealth together. So
it sounds like you got one of those real estate manuals where it's like all the ways you can make money in real estate, and you're like check mark, check mark, check mark, check mark. That's why they call you the Brainiac Investor. You've done them all.
Exactly. You got to become a Brainiac.
So right. When I first started, I actually looked at one of our first deals with Manuel. That's how I met him, Manny. Remember Ave Maria, that street? I still get emails from Zillow saying, "Hey, this is still available. Do you want it?" Like,
that's hilarious.
We were looking at that. Remember, we were trying to get that one sold, and I don't know. I don't even know what happened to it, but that was like one of the first properties I ever went to go out to look at as like doing this full time. So
nice. That's where we met.
Yeah, that's exactly where we met. Yeah, we
had to jump the fence.
Yeah, we had to jump the fence and get through the window, and there was like, I don't know, like barrels, like plastic barrels in the front yard. I was like, what's going on? Is this toxic waste? Like, what's going on here? So
there was like an abnormal amount of barrels, wasn't there?
Yeah, it was weird. It wasn't just like 3 or 4. It was like rows and rows of barrels, like on the front and on the side.
That's how I was collecting water.
Yeah, right.
Or maybe it was like what's that show, Breaking Bad? Maybe they're full of money.
I wish they were empty. I checked. I went to go see what was in them. No, they're all empty. So.
All right, and if you haven't seen some of our earlier episodes, this is Juan Bustos. He's the acquisition manager and acquisition partner here at Hilka Homes. He's the man that gets it done, gets all the deals, those type of things.
Make sure they get sold. Make sure they go through. Make sure that our closing coordinator has everything she needs. Make sure I do a lot. And y'all should have heard that negotiation I had earlier. So
that's right. We did miss that. But okay, so great. We answer your questions, and one of the first questions, you want to get into it so we can answer it?
Sure. So the first question was actually submitted and asked by Angel Lopez, a local wholesaler.
All right, Angel. Thank you for the question. Appreciate it. Shout out.
Very prominent guy. So his question is, what was your most difficult seller you had building rapport with, and how did you overcome that, or what was the outcome? So So
I'll jump in. Honestly, I don't have like a particular seller that comes to mind, but there's definitely, after you're doing this a while, you'll notice that there's patterns. There's a lot of similar personalities, similar situations. Some of the difficult people are the ones that you're not able to build rapport with, that you're not able to build that connection for whatever reason. And one of the approaches is I try to match the personality of the person that I'm talking to. So if they're like very business oriented and straight to the point, and they don't want to talk about anything personal, well then I'll mirror that and I'll get straight down to business with them as well. But really what I try and do whenever there's a difficult situation is still try and ask a lot of questions, probe them, find out what's going on with them, and try and go take those extra steps to build that connection. You have to put a little extra work with those people, maybe showing up in person where I could have just done it over the phone. Whatever you can do to just build that connection with them so they can overcome any challenges.
So basically, when you have a difficult seller, it's because they're not fully motivated yet, or they don't want to be, or they're showing that they're being greedy, or they're being something that they don't want to give up anything. I mean, they don't want to be flexible with you. They don't want to, they don't want to deal with you. But at that point, I mean, you're gonna do your best, and if not, you have to just move on to the next deal. There's more deals to come. I mean, we're going for that motivated seller, not that put up with all their BS seller, so obviously, you really want to see, like he said, you want to see patterns. You already start to see which, what sellers you got to be focusing your time with, and other ones they just put them in the pipeline where you're following up. And at that point where, I mean, you just got to be nice and be genuine and basically trust, have sellers trust you, and that's how you're going to get deals. I mean, really, it just, little by little, you got to work at it, but you're going to get better at connecting with that seller to get the deal. That's how you can overcome it. But obviously, if it's a hardcore seller, I mean, move on. I mean, you're not going to win at this because it's going to be a fist fight. You don't want that. You want to just, make it nice and sweet, get the deal done and create a win-win value for everybody. And that's how you get deals done. I mean,
yeah, and to jump on that point too, when you're first starting out, you're trying to just get any deal done. So obviously you'll do whatever it takes to get to the finish line. But as you progress and you generate more experience and you've had more success and you have a better lead flow and pipeline, you can pick and choose who you're going to work with. And if somebody's being difficult, then you can establish what the parameters are, which is, hey, I need for you to at least send me this information, or at least give me access to the property so I can take photos, or I need you to be within this price range for me to move forward. If you're not going to work with me, I'm trying to work with you, then I'll just follow up with you down the road and see if anything changes. But you can establish what your parameters are in which you're willing to do business with people.
So,
I agree.
So I actually have a story on a specific property.
I knew we'd get a story out of Juan.
Yeah, you're gonna get a story from me because I love storytelling. But I actually had a specific seller where it was difficult for me to build rapport. And a lot of the times the sellers will start off real cold and real almost distant from you because if they give you too much, they feel that if they give you too much information, they're making themselves vulnerable and they're opening themselves to possibly getting gypped, right? And that's not what we're here for. But they're scared of that, so they want to be cold with you. So the way I do that, and here's actually a free negotiation tip, is bonus material, guys. As we well know, I did door to door. So when you do door to door, you gotta close them within, your first 30 seconds buys you your next 3 minutes, your next 3 minutes buys you your next 30 minutes, right? So you really gotta build rapport within the first 30 seconds and the pitch and the first 3 minutes and whatnot. If not, they're gonna slam the door. So I'm pretty good at building rapport right off the bat, within the first 3 minutes of talking to somebody. What I started doing with that specific seller, and it was from a bird dog. The seller was out of California, and it was him and his brother, and they wanted to sell it to pay for medical bills for their mom, but they wanted to get the most that they could out of it, of course. And so what I started doing was I started doing a technique called porcupining questions. And what that means is you start asking question after question after question after question about them. So, hey, it started off with, hey, why are you selling it? Oh, it's because I need to pay medical bills for my mom. Oh, is she in the hospital? How's she doing? How's the surgery going? Cool. Do you have any kids? What do you do for a living? Things like that. Oh, you're in car. This specific seller he was in car sales. Boom. I just found something that I latched onto, right?
Because you were in car sales.
Because I was in car sales.
So something you could connect on.
So you keep porcupining questions, asking little questions here and there until you connect something, and then I've been in the car sales business for 30 years. Really, I used to sell cars. I sold cars over in Laredo, Texas, and this was one of my techniques, and all of a sudden he started loosening up, started opening up more to me, started telling me about his kid's birthday, his grandkids. He was already a little up there in age. Started telling me about his grandkid's birthday and how he helped pay for this big old shindig off of his commission and this and that, and we just started building rapport. This guy started off at 30, which was an unrealistic number for the property and the condition it was at. We needed it like at 15. We landed at 16.5 for this one.
Nice.
So I was able to. At first, he didn't want to budge, and like I said, porcupining questions is a great technique to break down that wall. What do you do? Why are you selling this and that? And just keep. Oh, you're an engineer. Cool. How did you get that? How was school? What made you get interested in that? So forth and et cetera. Until you find something that you can latch onto and build that rapport from there.
Because you want to humanize yourself.
Yeah,
exactly. You're them. They're you and you're them. And if you humanize yourself and you catch on to that commonality that you have with them, it's gonna blend, and you just gotta find it. Sometimes you have to dig for it, because sellers in general just kind of wanna. This is what I'm asking. Don't try and negotiate with me. Don't try and build rapport. Don't try and jip me. But it's all part of the process. So porcupining questions is a great way to break down those walls, and get past that cold, I don't want rapport kind of situation. And that's typically the way I do it.
So that was a great question, because we got a story out of Juan, and we got a bonus from Juan. So let's see how this next question, we're going to get another story from Juan.
Probably. No, I'm just kidding. The next question, guys, is what is the best way to communicate with people when trying to do a deal? So I can also.
Well, do you got a story?
This one isn't a story, but this is actually something that I found, and the real answer to what's the best way to communicate with people when trying to do a deal. There is no real answer to that. It's just how they are better at communicating. Some people are better at communicating via email. Some people are better at communicating via text. I love texting. I prefer to text than phone call. Some people would rather you call them. You send them a text and they might just call you back right away, say, hey, I'd rather be on the phone. I mean, they won't say that, right? But you can tell by their reaction. If you send them a text, they call you right away, and that happens once or twice or even 3 times, just start making the phone call. If they're not answering their text messages or their phone calls, but they respond to an email, just start interchanging via email. So, there's all different forms of communication. There's social media. I'm doing a deal. I'm working on a deal right now where we're communicating through Facebook.
See,
nice.
The story's coming. I knew it.
Well, the story's not completely there yet, so it's not actually a story. It's just an example. To be continued. Exactly. Watch the next episode.
That's right.
Maybe you'll find out. So, but that's my answer. Is just whatever the seller is, or whoever it is, even if you're just talking to the buyer, whatever their preferred method of communication is the way you should match that.
What do you think?
I totally agree with Juan, because the best thing you can do is adapt to them. How you're going to connect is you adapt to them. I mean, they like phone calls, you're going to give them a phone call. They like text message, you give them text message. Email. I mean, it's funny, the Ave Maria deal, the seller just emails. It was weird. It was my first time where email was the whole negotiation. I mean,
y'all have a great memory. That was like, what, 2 years ago?
Yeah, that was like 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah, it was a while back. Yeah.
It was just emailing with the seller, but I mean, some scenarios it's been just texting as well, or some scenarios it's just been. I love phone. I mean, my preferred method of communicating is phone call, and then in person. Those are my two favorite. You get more done that way, because emailing, texting texting seems fast. Texting is very fast. Emailing is definitely slow. So, but it's just a preferred method as to how they like to communicate, and you adapt to that. So that's the best way to connect.
So I think there's 3 answers to this question, which y'all already touched on 2. So I'm gonna throw in a bonus. Here's a second bonus of the episode. Okay, so it depends on the situation. It depends on what's going on. I think if you haven't established a really strong rapport with the seller yet or the buyer, and you're trying to, and maybe you haven't seen eye to eye on price point yet in the early part of the negotiations, is deferring to what they prefer. So like Juan was saying earlier, if they are doing email or if they're doing text message, emulating that. There's a reason they chose that form of communication. So if they chose that, you're going to be able to get responses quicker, and you'll be able to move the conversation along and those type of things. So the first one is what they're doing, capitalize on that. The second answer, which is what Manuel went over, is what do you prefer? At first, you might just fumble into it, but over time you'll notice that you might prefer phone or text, or you might prefer trying to meet with them as much as possible. After some time went by, my preferred method, like Manuel was saying, was phone call and text message, because I could talk to more people in a shorter amount of time, which meant that I was working more leads, which means I was closing more deals. But that usually happens once you've established rapport, once you've seen eye to eye with the seller or the buyer, and at that point, there isn't a preference of what type of communication. But the third bonus route is if this is a negotiation conversation. If it's a negotiation conversation, I always try and lean on the side of face-to-face. Whenever it's face-to-face, it humanizes you. It allows you to talk through the conversation more completely. In a phone call, they can hang up on you. In a text message, they can just not respond. In an email, same thing. But in person, they have to respond to you. It'd be kind of awkward if they just walked away, right? So you can negotiate with them in person right there. Second best option, in my opinion, when it comes to negotiations, over the phone. You can, they're having a conversation. It makes sense for them to respond right then and there. You can hear inflection in their voice. You can hear pauses. You can listen to what's going on and respond appropriately. And then obviously text message after that. So there's several different ways. Depends on the situation. Be adaptable. Be flexible so that you can be effective in your communication.
Exactly.
So we gave all kinds of great.
Yeah, you guys are getting great stuff here, man. So the next question is there ever a situation where you don't physically go to a property when wholesaling? So
there is many situations where you don't have to go. I mean, one, if the house is vacant, you can send anybody in your team, a friend, a colleague, for whatever, to go out, take pictures and video, assess the house. Luckily it's already vacant. You don't have to go. If you're wholesaling, you're not going to buy the property and keep it, so you're wholesaling to back-end buyer. Let them do their inspections, and they're going to decide if they're going to buy it or not, and you get more details out of that. So there's situations where you don't have to go see it. Plus, if it's so far away from you, an hour drive from the other side of town, you're not going to go through traffic, go try to see that one house maybe. You already got the deal under contract or something. You don't have to go. You got it under contract, and then you start marketing it for sale. You don't. There's times I bought in a lot of houses without ever seeing the property.
Yeah.
Over 10, 15 already. Sight unseen, nothing. All right, because it's already a good deal. If you already got it at a good price,
you know your numbers.
You know your numbers. Your comparables are there. Everything's there. This is a no-brainer. Take it down.
Yeah, totally. I actually prefer not going to the property. There's definitely situations where you would want to, like I mentioned previously, if you want to negotiate and stuff. But eventually you're going to get to a point where you have so many leads going on that time's valuable, and taking the time to drive there, show up there, maybe the key's not even there. There's tons of situations where that might occur, and then you got to drive back. You could have made 20 phone calls in that time, so that's a big component. And I'm actually going to throw a story in here.
Okay.
So I want to jack your story, unless you got one. So one of my favorite memories of a wholesale deal that I did back in the day was one that I never went to. And I've told this story before, but I think this one's really good. So I got this lead. I don't even remember where I got the lead from. But I'm talking to the person. We come to an agreement. We got terms. I send them the contract through email. Okay, great. I send it to really just a handful of buyers, and I got one guy in particular who said he was interested. I was like, all right, go check it out. I had never seen it. I hadn't looked at it. I had an idea of what the repairs were because I asked good questions. But I said, hey, go check it out. Well, then I went on about my day, and it turns out that I met with this with another business guy. He's in credit repair, and we had a meeting, and we were talking about whatever business or whatever. And then for some whatever reason, he was on his Facebook, and on his Facebook he had pointed out one of these guys who had taken trash bags, and from his feet all the way up to a little bit above the waist, he had barricaded his body with these trash bags.
What?
And the credit guy was showing this to me, and he was kind of laughing about it, this, that, and the other. And then the Facebook post, the guy that was showing the photo of him, it was like a selfie of him in this trash bags. He was like, he basically made a comment about how he was going to check out a house and it was like infested with fleas. So that's actually pretty smart. So he was taking his precautions so he didn't get any fleas on him or bitten or anything. Well, as I was looking at the post, I kind of deduced that the buyer that I sent this deal to, this guy that was going to check it out, was from his team. And so he was sending one of his team members to check out my house. I found out that this was my house, and he was the one that had, put all this trash bags on. So I never had to go to this house that was full of fleas, but this other guy was going, and it turned out to be my house.
Trash bags on.
Yeah, exactly.
Got flea
So
spray
if you
and all
don't have
that
to
good
go to the
stuff.
house, and especially if it's infested with fleas, that's definitely the route you want to go.
That's
So,
definitely a bonus.
that was a hilarious scenario where I found out through a person of a Facebook post that was my house.
That's funny. That's actually a really good. I think you have told me that one once, once or twice.
I
maybe.
loved it.
That's
I thought it was great. And then from then on, I was like, I like this not going to property
houses
situation.
Yeah, I don't. I hardly ever go to the properties physically, to be honest with you, especially when they're coming from another wholesaler. I just have the wholesaler send me pictures. We talk about it. There's one specific. The first one that I realized that you didn't have to go to every property was a couple of years ago.
See, knew a story was coming.
Yeah, there
I
you
knew
go.
it was coming.
I don't know if you remember it. It was a small deal. It wasn't that big of a deal. It was over off of Potomac. I don't know if you remember that one.
The
Yeah.
street. I don't remember this one.
So yeah, I don't remember the address, but somebody had sent it to me. We were talking about another property, and this person sent it to me, and he goes, "Hey, you want this one? I just bought one over off of Potomac. It's a real POS, man. It's not great." I said, "Cool. So tell me about it." So he told me about it. I said, "Yeah, let's do it. Let's see what we can do." He sent me over some pictures. I looked at it. I blasted it out. We blasted it out. We found a buyer within like a day or two. And she checked it out. She picked it up at asking. And it took us like an entire week or max of negotiating, showing it to her. And I never went out there. Not once did I ever go out there. And I made, I think the total fee for us was like $3,000. And, we split that the way we split it. And, I was like, man, I didn't even have to go out. I was just having a conversation about another one. I was like, I really like this. And typically I don't even go out. If I do have to go out to a property, I won't waste my time unless we're within $10,000 of negotiation.
That's a big point, especially for the new wholesalers, new investors out there that they feel they need to go to every single property. We only go and physically look at a property if we're close on numbers.
Yeah.
If the seller has verbally said, yes, I'm at 40 and our number is maybe 33 or whatever, okay, we're within range. I'll spend the time to go look at it. But we don't go look at properties unless we're close on the numbers at a minimum.
Yeah, guys, if I were to go look at every property that is sent to me, I would never get anything done. So make sure you're within, if you're going to go physically look at it, make sure you're within, I like to use a general rule of $10,000. If you're within $10,000 of negotiating range and you've got a pretty good idea of what the rehab is, then you can go look at it. There's a lot of sellers who are going to be like, well, go look at it and then make me an offer. Like, well, no, because I'd be wasting time. Because what if I need to be at 40 and you really, in your head, you want to be at 80? It just, you gotta get all the information first, and you gotta make sure that you're within range. Because if not, you're just wasting a ton of time. A lot of people think that you're going to be looking at houses all day every day, and that's just not how this works. I mean, you really shouldn't be looking at houses unless you're real close.
Yeah, because if you're going out looking at houses, you're going to waste. I mean, how many houses can you see in one day? 3, 4? I mean, because an hour in traffic, you're stuck. I mean,
depends on who's driving.
Yeah, I might be able to see 5 the way I drive.
We need a dirt bike or something to go over cars.
Yeah, I know, right?
No, but yeah, I mean, you can't drive them to all. That's almost impossible. I mean, I just did a deal last month where, obviously, from a realtor calling me on my houses for sale, called me, brought me another deal. And I was like, oh, I like it. I mean, I was going to take it down either way, but then I ended up selling it to an investor buyer that went out to go see it because he said, he asked me if I had any inventory. I was like, yeah, go check out this one. And he bought it right then and there. A day worth of, a phone calls, connecting the seller, the buyer. And that was it. I made $15,000 on it. Like, I was
There
like,
you go.
nice.
One day.
That's a good.
There
That's
you
in
go.
one day.
In one day of phone calls, and
Yeah.
he might have. And if he wasn't smart about it, he might have ended up spending that day going to look at houses, right?
Exactly.
Connecting
That's
his deals.
So-
So you got to be smart about that. So there's a lot of times when you don't actually go physically see the property that you're
Yeah.
wholesaling. So those are pretty good answers, guys. These are great questions,
Yeah.
by the way. Make sure that for future episodes, you guys are sending us a bunch of questions. Make sure you're sending us, you're thinking about it, and if we ever bring up anything that you want to look further into, make sure you ask about that, because we're really open to it. That's what this whole situation is for, to just answer everybody's questions about wholesaling and real estate investing in general.
Yeah, put your
So-
questions in the comments below, and we'll grab them and we'll put them on a future episode. You can also tag through the hashtag Ask Wholesale, right? That's
Yeah.
an easy way. You can also private message us. Go to Hilco. You can go to Manuel's page too, and go on Facebook.
Brainiac
hit
Investor.
message. There you go.
Brainiac
And you can
Investor.
hit message. Send us a direct message. We'll help you out. We want to help you. We want to bring value to you.
Exactly. So the next question would be the fun question. This is the one that we like to answer a lot.
We gotta make it fun. Not all this
Yeah.
boring real estate talk. All the
Yeah,
time.
yeah, exactly. I love this part actually, because it kind of makes you think, and it kind of delves into who you're talking to. Other than real estate, what is a side passion of yours? Manuel, you want to start that one off?
Yeah. So,
This is what he came for.
This
is- this is
not
what-
even the real estate.
this
part.
is what
Not
he
even the
came
real
for.
estate
I mean,
part.
this is why I do real estate.
Oh,
you know,
that's true. There you
know,
go.
you gotta. I have a very expensive hobby. My hobby is I love horses. I have many horses, ponies, miniatures, quarter horses, frisons, everything. I mean, I love training horses. I love being out on the ranch. Connecting with the horse. I mean, literally, you're connecting with their brain, their legs. You gotta move them. You gotta do tricks. I mean, it's amazing. So. That's why I love being out on the ranch and just enjoying time. I mean, I just bought a miniature horse with the carriage, and I'm out riding out.
you go.
So my side passion is riding horses and just being out with nature. But at the time, you need to have something that supplements your income, and guess what? Real estate's that. So, I mean, it's amazing how you can have whatever you want. I mean, when you just focus on things you want, and real estate is a great, great, great avenue for financial wealth. I mean, financial freedom.
How did you get into horses? Was your family? Or?
Yeah, so funny so my first experience with horses was when I would go to Mexico with my parents. So my grandpa never owned a tractor. To this date, still doesn't do a tractor. He still does it the old-fashioned way. He has a horse and a mule and plows the dirt.
Wow.
And I helped him with that. And from then I was like, wow, these horses are amazing. Like,
That's awesome.
I can do so much with the horse. I mean,
Right.
you ride them, takes you from point A to point B.
And they can do so much for you.
Exactly. I mean, they're your it's your side buddy, your pet, your pet. It's they give you love and affection as well.
Do you have a favorite horse of yours?
I have plenty of favorite horses.
Oh,
Man,
yeah.
I had like 9 horses before I went off to college. I had to sell almost
Really?
8.
Wow.
I only kept 1, and
Well,
I'm
they
like,
take a lot of work to just
Exactly,
feed
yeah.
them, clean them, and everything
exactly.
else, right?
It's a lot of time consuming, but I mean, each horse of my horses is like a different person and a different human being that I can teach a different trick.
Yeah.
A horse knew how to lay down, sit down, and the horse knew how to dance. Pound the dancing.
I think I have a small fear of getting bit by a horse, to be honest with you.
A
Small fear or big fear? 'Cause that just came out of nowhere
well, I mean,
right now.
it's small because I don't interact with horses every day, so it's not like I'm gonna be walking down the halls of geekdom and like, oh, got bit by a horse. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
but it's like whenever I am around a horse, I feel like I'm like really careful because I'm like, what if it bites me? Horses have those big old teeth and they're just gonna chomp down on you.
What
I
hurts
feel
more
like
is
it
a
hurt.
kick.
Oh yeah,
So
no, that's why I
you
don't
know,
stand behind the
yeah,
horse. I don't mess
but,
with that.
but with the horse, you can almost foresee it. You got a couple of seconds to foresee anything. If they pin their ears back, then they're going for a bite. So
Oh.
you look at that, then they're gonna bite you. If they don't do the pin their ears, they won't bite you.
Now I know.
There
Now
you
I
go.
know. That's
There
less
you
of a
go.
problem now.
So
Watch their ears.
Yeah, watch
there
your
you go.
ears. You gotta
Watching you.
pick up your third sense.
Yeah, there you go.
Third, that's funny. That's funny, man. So horses, man. That's cool.
Oh,
That's
it's my
interesting.
passion. I mean,
Do you have a particular breed or any breed?
I love quarter horses. That's my favorite.
Okay.
I mean, they're just stocky, fast. They're very versatile in terms of training anything, bell racing, cutting, reining, for roping, ranching, everything.
What are they called? Quarter horse?
Quarter horses.
Quarter
Because they're
horses.
fast in the quarter mile.
Oh,
they have
okay.
have
Okay.
big stocky hind ends. So.
Oh wow.
I mean, they're the most docile. I mean, almost every horse out there you'll see is a quarter horse. That's the common breed right now.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, if you go into luxury horses, I mean, it's everything else like a Frison, Andalusians. I mean, these horses are
I
from
didn't even know
England.
that.
They're worth 50,000.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Microchip them. I mean, because you don't want to lose
Yeah.
those.
Yeah, you don't want to lose 50 grand.
I know.
You don't want to lose 50 grand.
But I mean, horses is
Very
my
cool.
my
That
my
is
hobby, my passion. I mean that's why you gotta find something that you love to do. If
Sure.
not, you have no drive. Life is too short. Enjoy what you can. Enjoy it.
Exactly. If not, you'll forget why you're working.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I'll go next. I'll let you be the dynamic finish.
The finish, it's not that great.
Honestly, for me with passions, I'm very like work focused right now.
Really?
Yeah. So
Oh, man.
I want to get to the point where I have passive income to the level that I want and travel and stuff. But if I were to pick one, man, just like in life, I haven't done it in a while, but video games. I love video games.
Yeah,
I played a lot of video games like Halo, and I played WoW and World of Warcraft a lot. I played all kinds of different stuff. Nintendo 64, all that stuff. But at some point, I had to kind of retire in a sense and focus on business. But I would love to get to a point where I don't have to work anymore, and I can just whatever the badass
Play video
game is.
games,
I mean,
yeah.
games are getting like crazy good now, where it's
Yeah.
like almost virtual reality in a sense. But I always loved like the community aspect, the people that you meet. You can be playing with somebody across the world, and you're literally building something. I really like the critical thinking component of a lot of games. I'm huge like Final Fantasy, loved all that stuff. So video games, totally.
I really only ever got into like Resident Evil and Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. All the Resident Evils.
So you're like early video games.
Yeah,
Oh,
and I didn't even really get into them that much either. Like all my friends were playing video games, and I was like,
so you weren't.
I mean, I
very
did play. I mean, I was all right at the ones that I liked.
I think
You're trying to put me down, Marco.
So I only had Sega, man.
Oh, yeah?
Genesis, that's
Yeah.
all I
I
had.
always wanted a Sega. I never had.
They
I had
were-
all
they
the
were great.
Nintendos.
Yeah.
but I was like Sonic. I wanted to
Sonic,
hear that
that was a-
Sega.
that was-
but
Yeah,
never had
Sega. That one. Yeah, I had Sega when I was a kid too. Sonic 2 was my
Yeah, Sonic
like, my first
and
video game.
Mario Kart or
Oh, I love
the
Mario
Mario.
Which one? Which
the,
Mario?
The first Mario is the Mario and
There
Luigi.
was, oh yeah. There's tons of Mario games.
But the first ones were like the only ones I had. After then,
Mario World with Yoshi and everything.
Yeah.
I love those.
I had a PlayStation 1 when I was like 11, and I had Tony Hawk Pro Skater on there.
Oh,
Yeah,
what?
that one. That's where I
Those
first
are
started
great
listening
games.
to
I had
one
the
of my
tech
favorite
decks.
bands. Yeah, the little tech decks. Yeah. I had
Well,
those,
yeah, I
too.
remember those.
Yeah, I used to. I used to skateboard when I was younger, but before I learned how to skateboard, I had those too. I had to just be like, "Watch this."
Yeah.
They're like, "Mom, watch this." Mom,
I sucked at
go
this.
away, I'm cooking. My mom should go away, I'm cooking. Like,
They don't understand. They're like, "What are you doing?
What are you doing?"
You're doing this with your fingers,
Yeah.
skateboard."
yeah, you want to learn a cool new trick? Come wash the dishes. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. Video games, man. That's I could never really get into like technology
I
based
love it. I
stuff.
played all kinds of it.
What's your favorite one of all time?
I probably have the most fond memories of Halo, the original Halo.
Halo, okay.
Because that Halo 2 is when you could connect to the internet and you could play with anyone, but the original Halo was like the first time where you could connect to not just like one other console, so Xbox, you could actually connect 4 Xboxes. So when Halo came out, I was like in the late part of high school, and then I transitioned into college, and I had some fond memories where we would be in the dorms, and in one dorm room there would be 8 people jam-packed, and in the other dorm room there would be 8 people jam-packed, and there's just like, the wall, which was paper thin, separating us, and we would have these like elaborate, long 3-hour, 4-hour games where we're playing capture the flag, and there'd be situations where we would get the flag so close, but then the other team came and blew us all up, and one room's like, hell yeah, and like talking
The
shit
other
through the
room's
wall,
like,
the other one's like,
"No!"
no, all at once, and then after we would finish, we'd all go to the food hall together and talk about it. So those were some good times. I
That
really
does sound
enjoyed
fun.
it.
That does sound fun. Cool, man. So for me, one of my passions, or I have a few passions. I'm really a big time music enthusiast. I was never really good at being a musician. I tried the whole rock star thing for a little while.
Grow your hair out?
No. I look terrible. See, the thing is, my hair doesn't grow down. My hair grows out.
That's where you messed
up.
up.
So it looks
man.
terrible. Yeah,
That's
right. I should have gotten long hair. I think I'm picturing it in my head. That's a terrible look.
I would like to see that.
I regret that look, and I never even had it. So. But no, one of my passions is tattoos. Actually, I grew up drawing. My sister's biological father was a tattoo artist when I was a kid, and me and my cousins would sit and watch him do tattoos at home. Nice. Right? He had his own makeshift tattoo machines that he learned how to make when he was locked up, and we would always watch that, and I always had a passion and a love for tattoos, and I always loved looking at tattoos, and I always loved drawing. So I have a really severe case of ADD. So drawing is one of the few things right next to business and real estate that keeps my mind focused. I can't focus on a lot of things for long periods of time, but when it came to drawing and shading and coloring and learning how to blend different things, I could sit there and focus on a drawing for 2-3 hours. And then I got into tattooing when I was about 19. No, I was 17. Mm-hmm. And I tattooed for almost 10 years of my life. I started tattooing. I started, messing up my girlfriend with really ugly tattoos, and started messing up my friends with really ugly tattoos.
She
that they were
really
okay with.
Loved you.
Oh man, she did. Trust me, but she doesn't anymore.
Yeah. After she looked in the mirror, she was like, "What?"
She was like, "What?"
What's all this?
Terrible.
Yeah.
So I did some really terrible tattoos, and then I started really buckling down when I was about 23 or 24 on tattooing, and I focused a lot. I took on a tattoo mentor by the name of David Morales down in Laredo, Texas. They called him El Diablo. So
wow.
Yeah, not for any. He just kind of looked like a cartoon devil, is what it is.
Oh,
okay.
I think that's
he
what
had
it
a pointy
is.
beard or what?
Yeah, I asked him one time. I said, "Why do they call you Diablo?" And he's like, "I don't know." I was like, "It has nothing to do with the." Okay, cool. So, but he started teaching me. He taught me a lot of the basics. I had I had a couple mentors. Another guy named Chris. He taught me a lot of stuff like how to put the needles without breaking. Because I don't know if you know this, but it's actually not one needle. It's like it's like a group of needles depending on how thick you want the lining and the shading.
Oh, really?
It's actually a group of needles. So if you put it in wrong and one of those gets hooked, you end up tearing the skin. So you have to be really careful with how you put it. There's a lot of technique that goes into it. People think that, you're good at drawing, that means you're going to be a good tattoo artist. Like, that's not necessarily true.
Sure.
Skin and ink. My tattoos actually look better than my drawings, which a lot of people are like, why are you good at tattooing but not good at drawing them?
I need to see proof of this.
It's on my Facebook.
Oh, okay.
It's on my Facebook.
All right.
But but I could sit there, and I've sat there before and done 4 to 6 hour tattoos and just not lose focus, not even a little bit. So it's really a passion. And then when I'm done with it, I look at it, and I always see my own mistakes, right? But if you look you look at it as a whole, and you step back, and as a whole, the tattoo is really great. Of course, me as the artist, I'm like, oh man, I messed up there. Hopefully,
of course.
You know what I mean. So you see your own mistakes, but everybody looks at it, and you see the color popping and the different blends of shading and all this stuff, and you light gray wash shading versus dark black shading versus this kind of technique versus that kind of technique. It's really a passion of mine. It's something I haven't been able to do because, like Marco, I'm really work focused. A lot of my day revolves around trying to get work done. But it's really something I'd like to get back to. Once I reach a certain level, I'd really like to get back to doing tattoos. Almost full time, if not part time, at my house again, or at a shop. As a part time artist.
Have your own shop.
That's good.
Yeah, have my own shop where I can just work part time, have other people work for me, and just go in and do some tattoos whenever I get the chance.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's my passion. Tattoos. I love it.
That's
Well,
awesome.
very cool, man. Tattoos. You need to do a tattoo of a horse on somebody.
Yeah, right. I think
Maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't like tattoos, but maybe.
I've been out of practice for a while. I don't know if I can still knock one
never
out,
mind,
but I can draw you a really nice stick figure right now.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I think it's just, I love it.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite
Well,
things.
very
in the
cool.
world.
So we're going to be wrapping up this episode, but before we do, Manuel, where can people find you? How can they connect with you? Where can they find out more about you?
They can go to my Facebook pros, Manuel Cerrillo Jr. That's my real name. But Manny The Brainiac Investor. You can go to my send me an email, brainiacinvestor@gmail.com, or private message me or something.
What's your phone number?
My phone number is 210-405 6077, or just shoot me a text. I mean, I'm always available. I always have my phones on me. So
well, the great thing too is that he's knowledgeable in a lot of different arenas of real estate. So if you have questions, even if you're not, maybe you're just trying to focus on wholesaling, but eventually you're trying to get to rentals, or you're eventually trying to move up to flips, talking to someone like Manuel would be very insightful and good way for you to learn how your buyers even look at deals, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So cool. I appreciate you being on, and I think we had some good conversation here. And keep in mind, we appreciate you watching. We appreciate your support. Make sure to like. Make sure to throw some comments in there so we can interact with you. I mean, put where you're from. I mean, what market are you in? And also send us some questions. We want to answer your questions on future episodes. So thank you for watching.
Y'all have a good day.
You guys have to realize neglecting your negotiation skills is one of the biggest atrocities in the wholesale world. If you do not work on specifically improving your negotiation skill set, someone with less resources with better negotiation skills is going to come through and swoop up your lunch. Because you know how the old saying goes, you never get what you deserve in life, you only get what you negotiate out of it. A wise man once said, a man who knows everything truly knows he knows nothing at all. So I want you guys to always be looking for ways to learn, ways to improve, and you'll never have to worry about making another check because you'll always have skills that you're constantly improving that'll help you always pay those bills.